because it's like I can go.
I never did it.
Like I like it. It's fantastic. I don't know what's going to be. Just curious.
What is going on, everyone? MikeO back with my Philly show recap for spring 2025. Super happy that I was actually finally able to get to a Philly show. Believe it or not, it had been a full calendar year since I was able to attend the Philly show. Unfortunately, due to schedule conflicts, I had to miss the fall 2024 show in September, and I also had to miss the winter show in December of 2024, so missed the previous two shows. This past weekend actually didn't fall great for me either for the Philly show, but I was at least able to take off and make myself available for Friday. So I only attended one day, got there Friday, was there for the full show, got there right after opening, was able to stay till close to close, so got that full experience. Still not enough time. I mean, the Philly show's a big enough show that I absolutely think you could easily do 2 days. If I had full availability, I would definitely do 2 days for sure. I was able to walk the entire show with a substantial amount of time to bounce back and forth, hang out, chat, talk, and stuff like that. But did miss out on the opportunity to go through as many value boxes and stuff like that I would have preferred to have also done. There's a few guys that I always deal with there that have just great value boxes, and they were kind of bombarded early, and I wanted to make sure I made my way through the show. And next thing you know, the show does come to an end. Definitely awesome to see a lot of dealers that I hadn't seen in a little bit, hadn't seen in a while. A lot of people that you start to build at least small relationships with, just chatting a little bit, talking to. So that was awesome. Of course, always getting to see your friends at the show, which I was able to run into a few. Didn't get to see everybody, but I spent a lot of time with my buddy Reese ND Card Ranger. Hopefully Reese gets a video up if he hasn't already. My buddy Scott, Big Scott 35, made that 8-hour trek up from North Carolina, so it was amazing to spend that day with Scott. I know he was, especially by the end, a little tired. It was a long day. He was up at, I think, 6 a.m. or maybe even earlier and had to, travel all day. That's definitely going to wear you down a little bit. And then, of course, Ed Wesker Griff as well rolled in. Miss Sammy Thunder, I know he was at the show Friday, did not run into him. Didn't see Brian Roth either. I don't know if he was there Friday or not. I know he was there during the weekend because some of the guys saw him the next day or two. Ty also came up on Sunday. So a lot of other people that I did not run into, but the show was good. I mean, there were a ton of people there. I know throughout the weekend, I think it was certainly a little busier Saturday and Sunday than Friday. Friday, a little more spread out. The admission for the Philly show has continued to creep up in recent years, and especially in the last year, the last actually couple shows. Admission's like $20 now, so Friday's a tough day. If you get there early, it's worth it. But if you're someone who works till 3 or 4 o'clock, maybe even 5 o'clock, and you have some travel time, like how many people are spending that money for admission to only get in there for 2 or 3 hours? Not many. It's not practical. You would just wait till the weekend so you can spend your time. It's just very pricey. It's one of the expenses now with card shows and such. A lot of people go in there, might take the turnpike. There's just a lot of expenses. But it was awesome seeing everyone. It was awesome walking the show. My first big show since the National, so it had been a while, close to 6 months. I'd been to a few local mall shows, but not many lately. Just been really busy. But as you can see in front of you, picked up a lot of fun and unique stuff. What my strategy is when I go to big shows, aka the National or one of these big regional shows, is to look for stuff and keep an eye out for stuff that I'm either looking for that's very difficult to find, stuff that you'll see at auction houses or these types of shows. And I did find something that's been on my list for a while. And just keep an eye out for unique stuff. While I love the brand new stuff and the new refractors and all that and all the modern stuff, I'm very pro modern cards. The everyday common things or the everyday items that I can find 24 hours a day on eBay, ComC, those places just don't interest me at these shows. It doesn't mean that I won't be browsing showcases and see some like big Bryce Harper cards and stuff like that that pique my interest that I'll pay attention to. Of course I will, but that's just never the focus. Those are the things that I can browse and bid on and things like that. So let's take a look at some of the pickups. I mean, just a lot of fun stuff. We'll start with this one. Now, this is something that I'm sure is readily available on eBay, but just this is one I ran into and I bought with a group of other stuff. So definitely one of those deals where when I can bundle multiples and bring the price down and things are priced very fairly to begin with, I'm going to do it. So it's a 1952 Bowman Willie Jones, so Pudd'nhead PSA 7. Sharp looking card. 52 Bowman. I definitely have plenty of examples of 52 Bowman Phillies cards, but I do not have the team set, and I think this is a team set that I should have, and I hopefully will have in the fairly near future. Definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on and make sure I work out. So I definitely have 50 and 51. Why I don't have 52, I don't know, but we're going to have to change that. It's definitely a beautiful set. So love that card, was able to pick that one up. And then also picked this one up. I already have this for sure, but I just love the look of it. I just thought it looked great and figured worst case scenario, I'll have duplicates or eventually maybe I'll sell off one of my lower graded ones. But this is a T207 brown background, Patrick J. Moran, PSA 4. He was a Phillies player and a Phillies manager. He was a manager of the 1915 National League champions, so manager the first time the Phils won a pennant. So very cool card there. Recruit Little Cigars. Could read all about them in the back. But I like these 207, so I picked that one up. Got some food and beverage pickups. Got the Koss Steve Carlton. I have one of these unpunched, but was able to grab that in one of the bulk deals. Kitty Clover, Mike Schmidt. These discs. The Jiffy Pop, I'm sure I have the Schmidt already, but again, let's do a little group. That's a 1987. These were fun. These were interesting. It's an old envelope. And this is what was in the envelope. This is a Harry Walker. He was Phillies manager. 1947-48 Philadelphia Inquirer printing plate. So you can see that bright blue. That's a smaller printing plate. Literally just a sheet of metal. Pretty weighted. And then here is a larger version of that same image. Again, 47-48 Philadelphia Inquirer printer plate. Just thought they were pretty neat. And again, was able to get these at a great price. Always able to put together a nice bundle from the dealer who had these. So while not cards, fine additions to the Phillies collection, which I'm always ever expanding. And then picked up this as well. Phil Weintraub, 1938 Phillies. It's a signed photo. And it's got a whole bunch of information. You can see he played for a bunch of teams. The New York Giants, the Reds. Actually, the Giants like 3 times. You got his lifetime stats and such. And I don't really care about the signature. I just thought it was a great looking photo. Love these old school photos with the old school uniforms and when you have visible patches and such. I always find them neat. So was happy to add that one. See what else we got here. We got the 1969 Transagram, John Callison. This one at some point will be sent off to SGC to have holdered up. Overall, it would look in decent shape, but it's kind of poorly trimmed over here, so that might net it a authentic or something, but whatever. It's not a big deal. You don't see these that often. I'd like to pick up the Richie Allen at some point. I saw one at the show, but it was really beat. Got the reverse negative image. So Johnny Callison pickup. This is another one. I already have one of these, but I just couldn't turn it down for the price. It was out at $1929.30, R315, Chuck Klein. It's basically like a second-year card. Some people would consider it like an alternate rookie. I guess his rookie is like 26, 29 exhibits. This is the exact same image. The exhibits, I think, are borderless, if I remember right, but this one is neat, and it's a neat image. It's a great image of Chuck Klein. Obviously, very poorly trimmed here at the bottom, but this was priced really low, and then again, it was part of a bundle. A couple of these were grouped up in a bundle, and like, I just couldn't turn it down. Like, can't turn down a duplicate if it's a great price. So pick that one up. Got this player performance card All-Stars, Art Mahaffey. Thought that was neat. Blank back. Part of a game, I guess. I was able to net that. And then we'll save the big boy till the end. But just real quick again. Got the John Callison poster, Topps poster, which I surprisingly didn't have. These are so thin. I'd like to put it in a semi-rigid or a top loader. We'll see. But just getting it in there is the problem. But very cool. We got the 67 Dexter Press Jim Bunning. I mean, look at the color on that. Beautiful Hall of Famer Jim Bunning. See little statistics back there. Was able to add that cheap. Here's a 1959 Philadelphia Phillies storybook presented by Phillies Cigars. So again, this is marked $10. I was able to group it up with a few things. So honestly, probably paid closer to like $6. Like, you can't turn that down. It's just such a neat item. Whether you just keep it in the envelope or even if you flip through and read a little bit about the 1959 Phillies, some of these images, and honestly, at some point, I'll show it to my dad, let him look at it, because, I mean, he would have been 11 years old when this came out. Got some statistics, info on Richie Ashburn, and just kind of so on and so forth. All these players. Robin Roberts. So, incredibly neat item. I'm like, obviously cards are my first thing, but I'm getting into some of this old school memorabilia, and definitely the old images, the old photos are really cool. And there's still a lot. Like, obviously there's certain players and certain photos that are incredibly expensive, but you can find a lot of really cool stuff really cheap still. Here's an old scorecard. This would be from somewhere the late 30s, early 40s, something like 39, 40, 41. You got Brooklyn there. Pee Wee Reese listed. And you got the Phillies line up there. And it lists. And so you can identify the time just from the manager. He managed a team for like 3 years. Chuck Klein, I guess towards the end of his time. And you just have the Phillies pose for their family portrait. So Chuck Klein's on here. I want to say, I think that's him. I didn't look at it that closely. But was able to add this. So I thought that was a really neat and fun addition. And again, it was priced at 10, so it cost less than that. Here's a team issue. Beautiful image. Schoolboy Row. I mean, these are just super neat. A little oversized. I like to use the either oversized top loaders or oversized semi-rigids for these items. You just load them in those holders and put them in a bigger container, and it's not like they take up that much room for storage. You could always keep them in these sheets and make up binders full of these as well. But when it comes to the larger items, I kind of like to have them in holders. And then I thought this was awesome as well. So this is Hans Lobert and Chuck Klein. Look at that field. That field's awful looking. But here you can see the back of it. Acme Telephoto, the Cleveland Borough. Hit the showers, boss. Due to the illness of two of the umpires supposed to officiate the Philadelphia Phillies Cincinnati Reds game at Cincinnati, one player from each team was appointed to fill in. Hans Lobert left, manager of the Phillies, is shown as he was ordered off the field by Chuck Klein, Philadelphia coach. Credit, Acme Photo. 5/1/42. So May 1st of 1942. Great image. You got a Hall of Famer here to the right, back towards the end of his career where he was more of a coach. Part-time player, you look at Chuck Klein's stats, he had like a handful of at-bats his last few years. Hans Lobert, who was a former player, was also a Phillies coach and manager. He's also featured in Glory of Their Time. So, I mean, that always makes him fun to collect for me, but just an awesome, fun photo. Like $5. Absolutely can't go wrong with that. So that was awesome. And then the big pickup of the show is the 1933 Wart Cigar Chuck Klein Philadelphia NL PSA 6. Now, as soon as I saw this, I just said, darn, I need to have that. It's something I've been looking for at the National the last few years. I always keep my eye open at something like the Philly show. Local shows, you're never going to run into one. And my immediate reaction was, it's too nice. Because the nicer it is, the higher the price rises. And this is not a card or an item that I need to be super beautiful. Obviously, I'd like it to be legible and look nice. But this came out of a newly acquired collection. All high-end stuff, very high-graded stuff. Had a bunch of different issues. I rolled through. There were actually some old exhibits that were really nice Phillies ones, but they were very pricey as well because they were like PSA 8s when usually you'd be thrilled with a 1 or a 2. But I know I actually saw this card on Sammy Thunder's video, and he was at the dealer's display case, Howard, the Clemente collector. You can see that card when he's going through his showcases. So he got there and filmed that a little bit before I picked this up, I'm sure. I walked by, I saw it, I took a look at it. He got busy with working on some other deals. I went, looked at maybe 2 or 3 rows, and then headed back and said, I got to see if I can make a deal happen to get this because, I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, first of all, I like to collect Phillies from as many different issues as I can. Didn't have any from this particular issue. I think there's one other Philly, Dave Bancroft, I believe. And second of all, I do collect Chuck Klein. I have a lot of his cards, and he's also a Phillies Hall of Famer. There's just so many reasons to own this card. I think there's a Chicago version as well, but you know, when you can run into something like this, you don't necessarily get FOMO. I know people talk about it, but there are certain things you look at. And when you look up like auction sales, one of these hasn't sold in half a decade, maybe 6 years. So it's kind of now or never for certain cards. And it may or may not have sold over the weekend. Who knows? Maybe he still would have had it at the National, but he may not have. And if he didn't, might not run into one at a show anytime soon. And definitely one this nice. So it's one of those items that you pick up. You might end up spending a little more than you want to, but it's still ultimately just an asset. Even if you come across another one at some point that's a lower grade that you're happy with, you can always find a way when you have one of, if not the highest grade at one. You can always move on for it. There's always going to be some sort of demand, and there's literally no competition with a lot of these cards. So that's kind of the way I justify it and think about it sometimes. And definitely something I just wanted, like an absolute fine addition to the collection. You could buy a couple hobby boxes, have a few minutes of fun, and take a beating on it. Or you can pick up something that you've been looking for and searching for years. So that was the big pickup of the show. I think I had a great show. Ran into some great friends, talked to friends, had fun looking for stuff and searching through stuff. Of course, got to mention Chocolate Moonshine. Give them a shout out. The Fudge Place. They were at the Chicago National last time. Their chocolate covered blueberries and cherries are amazing, and I was able to grab some of that stuff as well, but wanted to make mention of that because I know a lot of people were raving about it, and only so many people mentioned it in their videos. But I thought I picked up some great stuff. I saw a ton of other great stuff that obviously I wasn't able to pick up, and just had a blast hanging out with everyone. So appreciate you guys watching. Comment below, let me know what you think of the pickups. What is your strategy when you go to shows? Are you looking for the brand new stuff? Are you looking for the old school stuff? To me, I love vintage. I love pre-war. I love modern. But when I do go to the big shows, I definitely focus in more on the pre-war specifically, not your everyday vintage stuff that's readily available consistently, or the modern stuff that's, again, readily available consistently. I'm looking for the oddball stuff that's harder to search out online, or the very unique or rare stuff that these are those few opportunities you can get. But to each their own. Everyone does the hobby the way they want to do the hobby. There's always ways to evolve and enjoy it and have fun with it and share it with others. And I had a blast sharing time with everyone. So comment down below. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you next time. Have a great one.